All right, in 3, 2. Hey, everybody, welcome to Tekzilla Live here at Web 2.0.
Yes, we are at the lovely Moscone Center here in San Francisco, California, and we're so happy to have you all here today.
Yay!
Yay!
They don't hate us. In 3, 2. Coming up on Tekzilla, solid-state disk drives. Are they ready for prime time? Can you trust cheap HDMI cables? Veronica interviews @Ev from @Twitter. I guess that would be @Veronica then. So pour yourself a nice glass of Chianti and pass the fava beans, because Tekzilla Live from Web 2.0 Expo starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by Squarespace, Dining, and Netflix.com. Sorry, I got to cue up the opening video really quickly.
This is the part where we stop down and do things. It's really exciting for everyone in the live audience.
All right, in 3, 2. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest technology and how to make the most of the gear you already own.
Yes, whether you're a beginner or tech support for all of your friends and family, if you've got a question about launching a startup, faster computers, digital cameras, or the safest food at the Las Vegas Convention Center, we can definitely tell you a few things about that, or actually the Moscone Center as well.
I haven't figured out the food here yet.
It's pretty tame.
Really?
Yeah, you're safe. You'll
so
be
none
safe.
of those like $19 hot dog hell creations, like, yeah.
No.
There's a story behind that. Ask us afterwards. The LVCC is the Las Vegas Convention Center. It's sketchy.
It's sketchy, yeah.
But we're here at Web 2.0. New set last week.
Yeah, last week we had a whole new set. I don't know if you guys saw that. Did anyone? Oh, actually, they haven't seen it because the show's coming out today in a mere few hours. So you'll get to see the new set for the first time. We're super excited about it.
It's really exciting. Not as exciting, actually, of having people in front of us. So we want to thank everybody again for coming out to watch this.
And as we said, we're at Web 2.0. So what's next?
Well,
3.0? Are people talking about that yet? Is that like totally passé already?
I think Bruce Sterling said it's going to be the transitional web, stabilizing the architecture and infrastructure of the web, and figuring out how to not get hosed on caps when you're trying to download video. And then we figure out what Web 3.0 is.
I don't even want to get into that yet. It hurts my brain to think about.
You had a thing last night.
I did have a thing. Was anyone at Ignite last night, at the Ignite presentation? I did not vomit on stage. I didn't forget everything I wanted to say. I was really nervous about it for some reason. Because usually I at least have you to talk to.
Or to hide behind.
Like if we mess up, we can kind of riff off of each other and deal with it, and it's all good. But that was like just me on there by myself. I'm not feeling confident, like right up until I got there. And then suddenly I just started talking, and it was okay.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I can actually do this. That's
Did you
good.
like envision the crowd naked or anything like that?
That is the worst thing to tell people to do. Do you know how much concentration that would take? Like if I tried to picture every single one of you naked right now?
Especially
which I'm trying
you in row 4.
No, see, it's not working for me.
It's just a thought.
My imagination isn't that good. But hey, Squarespace is one of our sponsors today, and they're doing something totally cool for the show. Of course, besides sponsoring us, which we really appreciate, we challenged them to a Squarespace off, I guess you could say. And we actually found someone in the audience who's going to get a whole new website today due to Squarespace. And it's going to be at tekzillalive.squarespace.com. You can check up there from time to time. And it's Danielle Olson. Is she in the audience? Hey, Danielle, get a new website today. You excited? So we've got a guy in New York who's actually going to be building her website in real time, and we're going to check back with them throughout the show today. Can we bring up the website and see if they've started anything with it yet? We're going to do that from time to time.
I brought up the first video.
They have really simple
first.
tools for building websites. You've probably all checked it out in the past before, and it's just a really simple way to, it's kind of like WYSIWYG editing, but way more advanced than that. Let's see. That's it so far.
Obviously, they've
We'll have to check back in later. But I think we should go to our first video question of the day.
All right, let's fire that one up.
We've actually got some questions. This one comes from Phil, who's asking about SSD drives.
Hey, Veronica and Patrick. I have a Lenovo Wi-Fi 10 laptop, and I was wondering if it was at all possible to upgrade it to an SSD drive. I have a 250 gig hard drive in it, and I would like the SSD drive to be at least over 100 gigs. I've got about $140 price range also. Also, any information you guys can give about how SSDs work and what predominantly they would be used in other than just finding them in netbooks. Thanks, and keep up the great show.
Well, thank you very much, Phil. You were giant on the screen over there for a little bit. Nice headphones, by the way. So in case anyone isn't clear, SSD is a solid-state disk drive, which you guys are probably familiar with, and a lot of products coming out these days, but price range might be an issue. Let's go take a look at the one you've got over there.
We've been getting a lot of questions about SSD drives lately because the prices have kind of been dropping. But basically what we're talking about is a hard drive built from non-volatile RAM and flash memory, like a camera basically. When you turn the power off, the stuff on it doesn't go away. Or if you bang the thing while you're doing a read or a write, the data doesn't go away. There's no rotating media.
Yeah, that's his favorite thing to do whenever we're on set and he's got something that's a solid-state drive or anything that's flash memory. He just starts banging it on the table, and I feel my heart like, no, don't break the thing.
It's amazing like how sophisticated the technology inside of these things really is, because they are, when you look at it, right, it's super simple. It's just a bunch of memory chips soldered on there and a controller. And the controller is really critical because cheap drives, say J-Micron drive controllers, which are basically, it's a Samsung memory, which are being branded by like 32 different vendors right now. They're very, very inexpensive. Have some nasty problems with introducing lag. So if you're going to look at it, it's $100, it's $150, I can put an SSD drive, it's going to be super fast. Well, when it's writing or when small applications on your system are doing like quick little writes to the hard drive, we've seen things like lag of a second, or if 3 or 4 of them stack up, you'll have a few seconds while your computer just sort of pauses while it's doing something, writing very, very slowly to the hard drive. So the fabulous drive we're looking at right here, which is the X25M from Intel. This is an 80 gigabyte version, and it's kind of crazy for me to look at this and realize the density of the memory on this. Writes like the wind, actually, and it reads like the wind on steroids. They are unbelievably fast. What early adopters have discovered is write performance issues that build up over time. It's kind of fascinating because of the way that the memory is essentially blocked out and written to. The more you use it and fill it, the more most of today's SSD drives actually start to slow down. And when we're talking about slowdown, we're talking about considerable slowdowns. They don't really do a graceful job of writing over erased data. So what happens is, right, so you've got the controller, and the controller talks to the memory. And what they have to do is there's basically a block of data. They have to copy the block to erase something, right? They can't just say it's erased and write over again. They actually have to copy it out, make it disappear in the controller, and then rewrite everything down.
So all those extra steps kind of
slow things down. In some cases, more than 50% as your drive gets filled out. And what's kind of sketchy about that, or kind of frustrating about that, is that the only way to do it is to fix it is really to actually do a secure erase of your hard drive and start all over again. Sound weird? Yeah, it is actually, but things are going to get better. There's a trim command that's being implemented both in the drives and in operating systems. We can expect that in the next version of OS 10. We can expect that in Windows 7. And what that'll actually do is give it a more graceful ability so that the performance won't degrade over time. That's, I should also say, that's write performance. Read performance are going to be still continue to be ridiculously fast. Like boot up times on a laptop or a desktop with an SSD drive are ridiculous. Loading applications, ridiculously fast.
That's the whole reason people really want them in their netbooks and laptops and everything, because it's just like...
Well, that, and if you're in environments, I mean, originally it was like, yeah, I'm serious off-road computer guy, whatever that is. But
got
if
like
you're
a tough book.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're the kind of person that
swamp.
destroys hard drives, solid-state drives should outlast them. And Antec has a great article talking about really the intricate details of what's going on with drive slowdowns. SanDisk has drives coming later this year that promise to avoid the slowdowns on writes over time. And we're actually hoping vendors can tweak firmware in the existing drives, because it would suck to pay like $400, $500 for your 80 gigabyte hard drive and be like, my drive's slow again. I'm going to have to do a secure format with this really weird utility and start all over again. But that's essentially what's happening if you're filling up your drive and getting it to capacity. But if you're reading, they're so fast.
Yeah, well, getting back to the first part of Phil's question, though, yes, you can put a solid-state drive into your IdeaPad Y510 notebook computer from Lenovo. Really, any computer with a 2.5 SATA drive there will work, right? And at worst, you might need to shim it a little bit. But finding a 100 gigabyte SSD drive for $140 is going to be pretty close to impossible right now.
At least for the next 6-8 months.
I know. In a few years from now, it might get to that point, but you're maybe looking at 60 to 80 gigabytes at a way, way discounted price. Like if you can find them super on sale somewhere.
And if they're one of those drives using the early J-Micron controllers, you can almost guarantee that you're going to be frustrated with the performance of that drive. But you know what's amazing is people are saying in the next 2 years, a lot of the people who are kind of like on the bleeding edge with notebooks, they say that SSDs are going to be pretty standard on even entry-level notebooks in the next 2 years.
Yeah, so Phil, keep up hope. You'll find something yet out there.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and they're just...
And they are super fast, so you at least have that to look forward to.
And the prices are going to keep dropping.
They always do. They always do. They always do after I buy the thing. That's what happens.
Would you buy one so I can buy one?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
Thanks a lot. So 2 years, Phil, then maybe you'll find something in your price range, roughly. Or you can start out with something a little slower and a little smaller, rather, and build up from there.
So, you want to make Veronica happy?
Yeah, send me in a video question. All you need to do is record yourself in front of a camera asking a question no longer than 15 seconds, and then email it to us at tekzilla@revision3.com with video question in the subject line, and we'll check it out. And so, send one in today, and maybe you will be on our fabulous show.
All right, so we challenge Squarespace to basically take someone's old site and refashion it into a shiny new Squarespace site. We're going to check in right now to see how it's coming along, tekzillalive.squarespace.com. And let me go to the full screen here so you can enjoy the glory that this is. Let me hit the wrong key because I'm in front of people and obviously terrified. And refresh.
Ooh, you got a little
quickly.
logo there. You like it? That's nice, huh?
People are like...
Well, it's still early. We'll check it. We'll check back in soon. You got a logo, though. Is it your own logo, or did they invent that one? They invented it. Do you like it? Yeah, you're okay with it? All right, good. Well, then we'll have to keep checking back with that later. But right now it's time for another websites that we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. And today we're taking a look at typetester.org. And this is a really good one for all you people here at the Web 2.0 Expo because you've probably gotten your hands dirty. You've probably gotten your hands a little bit dirty with design and working with fonts. And this is a great way to test a bunch of different styles of fonts. So let's see, we can do Helvetica there. We've got some Futura. I always say that one wrong. And then Techno. And then you can see them side by side, and it's just a great way to test them all at once, and you can see how they look in different browsers just by opening that up. And yeah, it's definitely an excellent site to try out. So that is typetester.org, and that is our website we just can't get enough of for today. And now we have the wonderful Evan Williams from Twitter, joining us here today as well. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So we should just first mention that Biz is going to be on Colbert Report tonight. Is that
He
true?
is. I was just now reading his tweet. He's in the green room, just talked to Stephen.
Well, sorry that you're here with us today, not in New York, I know.
I insisted that I
We'll
be
try to
here
be
to
as
talk
awesome.
to Veronica,
Aw,
and Biz
you're
had
so
to take
sweet.
the Colbert.
So you have personally been at the forefront of a lot of the Web 2.0 technologies. I mean, you got Blogger, we had Odeo doing the whole podcasting thing, and now we've got Twitter, which is basically almost becoming synonymous with email and blogging these days. I mean, people say, oh, we're doing the Twitter thing. And so it's grown huge, too. I mean, celebrities are using it all the time to directly connect with their fans, as well as just everyday people, not even people who are tied directly into the web communities. I mean, I remember when it first started out, we were all like, oh, this is so awesome. It's like the geek community thing. Now it's just blown up. So congratulations on that, first of all.
We've been very fortunate to be part of something that is taken off so fastly.
It's
quickly.
becoming like a whole little subculture, too. So my first question for you is, how has Twitter evolved from its original design? I mean, recently you guys added the whole search function into replies, so you can see retweets and things that are connected to your name. What else has changed?
Well, the product actually has changed very little in the last couple of years, mostly because the vast majority of our resources have had to go into just keeping up with growth. What has changed quite a bit, and where the product has changed, is in how we think about it. And at first, and even if you go to the homepage of Twitter now, we still describe it as sort of a social networky type thing, stay in touch with friends and coworkers. And what we realized over time is that it's really about keeping up with what's happening in the world right now among things you care about. And so part of that is your friends and your family and your coworkers, but part of it may be what people are saying about a big event, about Web 2.0 Expo that's going on, or a summit or a Super Bowl. And so we're trying to build that aspect into the product more, and that's why we're testing the search as a more integral part of the product. And the evolution will be more along those lines, I think.
How have people been responding to having search built into replies? Has it been mostly positive?
The vast majority has been positive, yes. So that was always kind of confusing. I think it's still a little confusing how replies work. It's one of, going back to your previous question of how the product has evolved, the ways it has changed have mostly been user-driven. So the whole concept of replies wasn't in the product at first, and users wanted a way to address someone else. So someone just started doing the at symbol and then the username, And it never occurred to us until people started doing it, and so we started, well, that signifies the user. Let's make that link to the user. And then how do we make these work in the product? So it's continually evolving. What we're trying to do is just support what people are apparently trying to do.
Are you surprised with the way that people are using Twitter? I mean, other than just communicating and sending messages back and forth, are you surprised at the way people have been using it as a promotional tool and things like that?
We're constantly surprised. I mean, it's amazing. Every day we see uses that surprise us. From the businesses have been using it a lot, which isn't terribly surprising, but how they're using it is a little surprising. From Dell embracing it very early on to send out deals and Twitter-only coupons, or little businesses just became aware of one. Here in San Francisco, it's a spa, and it has a slot open on their massage table. So they'll say, call and book right now for the 3 o'clock, and you'll get $30 off. And it makes tons of sense.
You have to send that one to me later.
I will do.
That's one to keep track of. We had some questions from actual Twitter users as well, because we thought that would be appropriate.
Great.
And this is especially good for people here at the Web 2.0 Expo. And Josh Betts wants to know, any recommendations for people trying to start tech startups? You have obviously a lot of experience with that.
Well, that's a big topic, but I mean, I think the core thing would just be do something awesome. I mean, and try. It's easy, right?
Don't suck.
Don't.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, try not to get caught up in the echo chamber. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the toughest thing when you're trying to break out and do something original. A lot of things are evolutionary, and it's easy to get caught up in what the geek subculture thinks, and that there's lots of valuable businesses that can be built there, but I think that's where a lot of people tend to spin their wheels, and I've been caught up there before. And when I had more successful things is when I just thought, back to basics. What do I want, and what do I want to see in the world? And create that.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially when you get caught up in that echo chamber, because they're kind of your early core audience in a way, the geek set. But then you also have to kind of make things for the mainstream audience as well, who might not have the same needs and desires as a hardcore techie does.
Yeah, that's tricky. And we definitely saw that with Blogger for a long time. The early bloggers were a core audience, and we just really wanted to create the product for them, and they were us. And there was a point at which we had to say, okay, we can't necessarily serve them as well as someone else, but there's a very big audience of mainstream users that we want to serve. Mm-hmm.
So the next question is from Naptown MVP. I don't know where Naptown is, but it sounds delightful. What's your opinion on the new Facebook and their redesign?
Did they redesign?
Oh, I was a little catty-ev.
Facebook is great. I mean, I use Facebook. I have lots of friends on Facebook. It makes a lot of sense to me what they did. Mm-hmm. And I don't know I'm not a hardcore Facebook user, but I'm very impressed by a lot of stuff they did. They did a bunch of stuff that we want to do, and it's been on our roadmap, so that's great.
Well, is that something you would want to kind of go more towards? Because the next question was from El Gons, which is Spanish for the Gons. And he wants to, do you see Twitter becoming a platform like Facebook?
Well, it depends on the definition of a platform, but and we have hundreds, possibly even thousands of developers who build on Twitter today. So by some people's definition, that would be a platform. We have companies that are getting funded that are based on Twitter. StockTwits raise money and entirely focus on Twitter. There's several other companies that are both building products exclusively for Twitter and building actual businesses doing that. So a lot of that has been really just organic, and we haven't done a lot to, other than putting the API out there very early and answering people's questions, we haven't done a lot to support that as much as we'd like to. But that's one of our initiatives internally to help both developers and users take advantage of the ecosystem.
I was wondering, with so many people building off the API, especially building businesses around that, what have you done about the rate limit and the calling to the API so much and that kind of getting blocked after a little while?
It's something we're continually trying to increase, and it's been tricky because when you don't have control over the interfaces, then just computers making enormous amounts of requests, and if it was unlimited, there's no way we could survive.
Right.
So we're trying to get more intelligent about that, but and we're trying to increase capacity overall. There has to be some sort of rate limit, or else, just runaway scripts can take our server down. But it's something we've increased a couple times and plan to increase more and maybe get more sophisticated about.
Would it be something that maybe you could work specifically with a specific company and then kind of let them have free range for the rate limit while limiting it to other people? I don't know. I'm totally thinking
We
out of
have
the
done
box
that,
here.
actually. We've had a whitelist, and now there's not technically a whitelist. There's just different levels. What we did have was you're either limited, like, this much, or you get whatever you want. And we're pretty liberal about putting people on the whitelist, but then some of those cause problems, so we had to get a little bit more sophisticated. And our API team is still just 2 developers now. There's one guy supporting them and trying to answer questions. So it's a big project to support these thousands of other developers, and they're working really hard at it.
So the next one is from, usernames are so impossible to say, Tiglar Langer.
Of course.
Any future support for images or video, etc.? I've seen some kind of mashups of that in the past, but never anything officially sanctioned.
Yeah, I think we should support images or video better than we do today. It doesn't necessarily mean we want to host them. We might, if we think that's the best thing for users. There's so many places to host your images and video, though. I don't know if people want a different one or just a better integration.
Like viewing in line.
Maybe viewing in line. TwitPic has gotten really popular. It seems to be the leader right now, but I think there's other companies that offer similar functionality. Obviously, I don't necessarily want to get into competition with YouTube and say, put your videos on Twitter instead. But Twitter is really just it's like lubricant for web content. And so if we can make it more efficient and make it faster to view things, I would like that as a user. So we'll think about that.
Here's a question that's very relevant to my interests. Kim Stowe says, how can someone monetize based on a thriving Twitter following?
I don't know. You should try. Anyone want to sponsor Veronica's Twittering?
Just kidding. No, that would be weird. That would be totally weird.
I don't know. We would support people trying to do that, and there are people doing that. And we're all for it. As long as people build a following base and are delivering value to those people, they'll keep following them, and they can build a business out of that. Just like people build businesses out of blogging. Back in the day, it seemed like blasphemy. And then people realize, oh, wait, this is just publishing, and it can be done professionally as well as casually, and there's room for both.
All right, and our last question of the day, of course, is from Wunderbar, or Wunderbar, and he wants to know business model. Now, I know we've heard a lot recently about exec tweets with Microsoft. Are any other big companies going to help you attain that business model or work towards that, or what are you guys thinking for the future?
We're not spending a ton of time on that right now. We're focusing much more on delivering more user value and growth. But we are doing some experiments, exec tweets with Federated Media, and Microsoft is one of those. It's an experiment. There may be more like that. We don't think that's the holy grail. We have a lot of other ideas, but they come secondary right now to building some more product features. And just trying to support the user base we have right now.
So what's next for you guys?
Bigger, better, more. Doesn't mean more characters, though. Still 140. I get asked that a lot. It's like, could I just get 10 more characters?
Well, that was based off text messaging, right?
It was based off text messaging, yeah. But it had these sort of unobvious complementary effects on the web, and we like it.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
So I look forward, especially, I feel very personally invested in Twitter for some reason, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys grow and change in the near future. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Veronica.
For joining us. And if you don't already know, you can follow Ev on Twitter at @Ev and Evan Williams.
Thanks.
So, hopefully you guys were all twittering that during the interview. Got some good promotion out there. We want to take the time now to thank one of today's sponsors of the show, Gamefly. Gamefly is the largest online video game rental service and offers you a choice of over 6,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. With plans starting at $15.95 a month, Gamefly members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them as long as they like. And there are no late fees, and you can even buy the game if you want to. And so once you're done playing a game, you can send it back, and Gamefly will send you the next available title on your list. You can also press that little Keep It button, and they'll let you keep it for no additional charge, and they'll even send you the box and the little pamphlet that comes with the game, absolutely for free. And Tekzilla fans get a 2-week free trial when they go to gamefly.com/Tekzilla. Some restrictions apply. See site for details. Support us by supporting our sponsors. So we're going to check back in with Squarespace, I think.
Yes, we are. How's everybody doing out there? Do we have mirth? Do we have any level of... Okay. Just checking.
Gonna hit the big old refresh.
Well, this is what it looked like when last we checked the website. Don't hit refresh it. Don't hit refresh it. Is it up? Is it up on the monitor yet? Oh, there we go.
There it is. All right.
Ta-da!
Oh, you got a thing.
Whoops. Sorry about that.
Take a look what they added over here. Oh, look.
We have a column.
You have a Twitter now.
We have a Twitter module.
We've got all sorts of good stuff. I'm really glad she didn't say, wow, Tekzilla really sucks right now. Because that would be so embarrassing, and we would totally know.
No, actually, that's perfect, because it so rarely when people post on forums or Twitter can you actually run into the audience and grab them by the neck. Just kidding.
You're so violent, God.
Not violent? Oh, yeah, like you've never had that urge. Did you see what somebody wrote about me in the forums? Yes.
Yeah, well, what can I say? I'm excitable.
Aren't we all? Next question comes from... Actually, I guess we want to do the freebie.
Yeah,
download.
you want to do the freebie download?
Let's do that. Let's welcome to this week's freebie download pick. You want to pull Audacity up on the giant monitor
But
of doom?
Of course.
Welcome to this week's freebie download pick, a free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week, a freebie download classic. Join me if you know it, Audacity. We've been getting a ton of questions lately from people looking for a good audio tool, basically for editing or recording audio. I think
Oh, there it is.
It moves.
It hides from me, ever so wily.
Yeah, pick up 3, 2. We've been getting a ton of questions lately for people looking to get a good tool for editing or recording audio, and the answer is always the same. Veronica or me, day or night, drunk or sober, not that I drink, but you get the idea. It's Audacity. It's free. It's open source. It runs on Windows. It runs on OS X. It runs on Linux. You can mix multiple tracks, edit audio with cut, copy, and paste, apply digital effects, remove noise, convert your records or cassettes into 96 kilohertz digital audio files, alter volume with compression and normalization, change the pitch of a track without altering the tempo, record 16 channels of audio simultaneously if you have the right software, or I should say hardware.
We can even slow down his audio using it.
Thankfully. You can work with WAV, AIF, MP3 files, OGG Vorbis, and if you get the 1.3.2 beta, it's got FLAC support, and yes, you do have to download the lame encoder to work with MP3s. Get off my ass, people. Because that's the one violent response we get. It doesn't have it built in. Just download it.
It's not that hard to do lame.
I gotta say, about the only thing we miss from high-dollar audio editors is scrubbing. There's no scrubbing in it, which is weird if you spend a lot of time working with audio files, and real-time effects. That would be nice, but it's free.
But I've used it for years without it, so meh.
I know people who edit professionally who use it instead of spending dollars on high-end audio tools. In any case, if you're looking for an audio editing tool for digitizing family audio tapes, learning audio editing, because it's all about the cuts and how you time things, people. Splitting up that monster file you downloaded from your favorite band's website, head straight to audacity.sourceforge.net. It frackin' rocks, people.
All right, next we've got a
Dead
question.
silence.
We've got a question from Jeremy.
All right, Jeremy writes in.
He says, I have seen cheap HDMI cables all over the net that say they are 1.3 Category B compliant, which, as you know, is full 1080p support. Are these cables to be trusted? Obviously, paying $100 plus for a monster cable HDMI cord is ridiculous, but is there a happy medium between the two in terms of performance versus price?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we've said some things about monster cables in the past.
Monster Cable likes to sue people, and they like to overcharge people for copper, and those two things together mean I'm really down on Monster Cable. Although I do actually have a Monster Power Cable. You want to see about something ridiculous? I was looking for this weird end that I needed to plug a welder into a 220-volt socket.
That's
that was
totally
in
typical.
Fry's.
No,
Anybody here familiar with Fry's? It's like where geeks go to spend their entire allowance, anywhere from like bizarre forms of beef jerky to home appliances to like
only been there once.
It's good. That's why most of your money is in the bank.
That's where I got the Burning Crusade.
That'll do it.
When it came out, I waited in line at Fry's.
Sorry, every time I hear
French fries
Burning
there.
Crusade, I think of something that involves a commercial for something unpleasant.
Touché.
Fix the Burning Crusade with. In any case, so Monster Cable even makes these giant cables that are gold-plated because your dryer needs gold-plated connection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. The point is, though, cheap cables, Robert Heron is our
maven,
guy
yes.
for HDTV, and he's done a ton of testing with expensive cables and cheap cables, and the answer has always been the same up until about a week ago. Buy the cheapest cable you can find. If it's under 25 feet, it's not going to make a difference. What's interesting is in the last week or two, he's actually found some cases where, in one case is where if this particular brand of monitor, and I won't reveal it because the review hasn't been posted yet, actually using a cheap cable, the classic Monoprice, and this is where we go all the time, monoprice.com, great cheap cables, super cheap cables, about as cheap as you're going to get, actually made some issues with the monitor worse. The issues were there with high-end cables, they were there with cheap cables, and I got to be honest with you, I have a mixture of no-brand cables, Monoprice cables, and one expensive cable I bought on a particularly weird weekend in Reno that I paid $100 for a 12-foot cable. I don't want to talk about it.
That sounds like a story.
It's not coming out on this show. But I bring that up because I can't see the difference, 720p, 1080p, and most other people can't. Now, if you are worried, though, or if you think there's something wrong with the cable you bought, a nice step up is to go with branded cables. And I got to say, the favorite source for that is a site called bluejeanscable.com.
I've heard you talking them up a lot.
They have great cables. They basically have any kind of audiovisual cable, and their HDMI stuff's pretty crazy because they start with United States-made Belden HDMI cables. It's $9 for a 1-foot cable. It's like $46 for a 25-foot cable. These are badass cables. If you need a 100-foot HDMI cable, and that's bizarre, but they actually have those in stock, and the prices are amazing.
Well, that's a nice step up, yeah.
And they are certified and tested, and they will do the job. So if you want a cheap cable, if you don't want to go with some sort of, I don't know what the source is, I don't know if it was tested or if they just printed it on the box. It's certified because we printed it on the box.
Well, it's nice to have an alternative to the monster.
Yes, well, there are many alternatives to the monster, and there's like a half dozen alternatives to the monster alone at bluejeanscable.com. So monoprice.com for super cheap, but Blue Jeans Cable if you really want to make sure it's absolutely positively up to the spec.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's time now to thank another sponsor of today's episode, Dyn Inc. Dyn provides easy-to-use and extremely reliable DNS, email, and domain registration services for enterprises, domain name registries, small businesses, and home users. A lot of you may have noticed that some of your favorite sites went offline for a while recently for hours at a time. DNS attacks affected the support behind sites from Amazon to Salesforce, but not those powered by Dyn Inc. Uptime is bottom line. It's a good catchphrase. Dyn takes pride in keeping a personal relationship with their patrons, and even today, know many of them by their first names. That's something you don't get very much these days. No. Their support team entertains close links with every other department in the company, meaning every one of its members is actually empowered to take action when needed. Head on over to dyn-inc.com to learn more about how their services can keep you up and running. All right, I think we have to check back with Squarespace once more. Let's see what they're doing for Danielle's website. It's up here somewhere. There we go. All right, Danielle, you ready? Dun-dun-dun. Oh, okay.
Yes, he is very cool and very patient with us.
Someone's excited. Well, this looks good. This looks good. You've got your gallery links and everything. I wonder if they've built anything there yet. Should we click on it?
Go for it.
It's not our fault. Ooh, things. Ho-ho. Look at that. Very nice, very nice. All right, well, we have one more check-in with them at the end of the show, I believe.
That's actually moving pretty quickly for like 25 minutes.
Yeah, well, their whole thing is that they can rebuild a site in a half an hour, I think it is. They said that their people can do it in a half an hour.
That's pretty fast.
That's not bad.
It's only taken me 4 years to finish building my website, which is not built yet.
I've never looked for a personal website of yours. You need to get on that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later on. Viewer question?
Yes, I think it's time for another viewer question. Mark writes in, I've been shopping around for a new photo printer. Could you guys do a rundown of a few of your top picks for 4x6 prints? With the exception of wireless connectivity, it seems there haven't been many advances over the past several years. So that explains this, there it is, the Epson that's been floating around here. This is the Epson PictureMate. I think we're going to put it up over here because we can't put it on the Elmo.
Next to the water glass.
Yeah, this is a nice printer, a nice photo printer, by the way.
It's actually an amazing photo printer, and they're actually called personal photo labs now if you're looking at the category of products. Do you want to hit the print button twice?
Print button right
if
there?
anybody has a stopwatch, this should take about 37 seconds. They're stupid fast, actually, these days. But Mark is right. There haven't been a lot of changes in the last 2 or 3 years in photo printers. But it's kind of amazing, though, because they've gotten smaller. And we'll talk about Canon selfies in a couple minutes, which are about half the size of one of those little tiny boxes of tissues you used to find at the back of the toilet at Grandma's house. They're literally that small, like 5 inches by 5 inches by 3 inches. And most of them have optional battery packs, which I also find really amusing, because I guess you can go to a field or a subway car and have a photo printing party.
Yeah, if you would take it with you on the go. I mean, if you're out and about taking photos, and if you want to make some prints, it makes sense to me.
It's okay. Well,
I mean, you're in the desert all the time. What if you wanted to print up some pictures?
And there I am in the desert without a power source, but if I have my battery-powered printer...
Totally screwed.
I'm going to have to drag one of those down to Baja.
Battery packs.
This is Epson's Picture Mate's Dash. I think it's the bomb. Starts under $140 online. 4x6 prints are basically all it does. It does them fast, and they are gorgeous. I think actually we can probably pull a couple of those prints up there.
And then there's the Zoom too, which is the same printer but with a CD burner built right into it.
Right, and if you haven't played around with one of these, basically you can slide your memory disk into your CF card or your SD card or MC card into the front. They've got LCD screens. Oh, that's the back of my son's head. Hi, Seamus.
Seamus has a lovely head, by the way.
Thank you. My wife worked very hard on that. That would be my dog. That's probably not the best example of the print
probably
quality.
not the best example of a really clear photo picture. I'll find another one.
I'm not really sure how or why I printed that. I'd like to apologize to my dog. But it's amazing, actually, the quality on these. Both the Dash and the Zoom have LCD screens. They can do basic photo editing, red eye removal, cropping, and they've got an optional Bluetooth adapter if you want to print directly from your phone or your printer
from your
that
phone.
way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was like, what would you use a Bluetooth adapter for? Because I never use photo printers, so I hadn't even thought that like a camera and a phone would be a good
You should have a kid.
use for
You
that.
use a photo printer all the time. I checked in with PC Mag's most excellent printer editor, basically the guy that reviews printers for them. Actually, that's a really good. The colors are actually shockingly saturated. That's an inkjet, and that was inkjet print. That was printed out in 37 seconds. I haven't figured out a way to scuff the image without sanding it off. They are waterproof. What's interesting, Canon's come out with what they call the Selfie, the CP760 and the 780, and they're dye sublimation photo printers, and they're actually almost look about half the size of the Epson box you're looking at there. Photo quality is great. They take longer, about 10 to 20 seconds longer than the Picture Mate to print, and they're more expensive. You basically buy a big package for either one of these with an ink cartridge and a stack of photo paper. So it's like $55 for a 270 print pack. That's going to be about 20 cents a print. And the 100 packs come out for, I think, 23 cents a print. The selfie stuff's going to be a few cents more for print. What's interesting is David pointed out that the Canon has one minor flaw with its drivers. Mm-hmm. If you have like spokes on a wheel or something or certain straight lines, if you're printing from a computer, a lot of times those lines will end up jagged or a little bit ragged. If you're printing directly from a memory card, it doesn't happen at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we've got another picture. That happened really fast.
They move
I don't
really
know
quickly.
what this is.
5x7 prints, HP is the only option. DavidStonePCMag.com. Check them out for great printer reviews. There's some good stuff coming out. We'll have links to that in the show. We got one more question. You up for that one?
One more question today. This is an interesting one. It's Tater Talk.
Tater Talk.
We had a
Talk.
long discussion about his username before
He's
the show
in Kentucky.
today. He's in Kentucky, and he's asking us, after somehow managing to water damage my iPhone 3G, you have had some experience with water damaging iPhones in the past.
I had drool damage issues with my original iPhone.
Yeah, he subsequently had to buy another one. He's looking for a good case for the phone that will prevent water from getting into the ports. Any suggestions?
Actually, there are a number of them out there. The strangest one I've ever seen, I think, is the Aqua Pack. And what is essentially is a sort of nautical grade...
Okay, so you're basically talking through plastic.
You're talking through plastic, actually. You can strap it to yourself. You can talk through it. It's bizarre. You basically seal it in plastic and hold it up to the side of your head. And I'll actually do one of the iPod or the iPhone instead. And you can see, literally, it looks ridiculous. It actually works. So does a Ziploc bag, I'd like to point out.
That's the weirdest thing I have. It looks like one of those blood collecting bags from when you're giving blood, or like getting a UV drip, IV drip, not UV.
They are really waterproof, and they look much cooler than a Ziploc, gallon freezer bag with duct tape over the edges on it.
Could you do that?
I've done that. And it looks really goofy no matter who's doing it.
I love how you always go the lo-fi route.
Well, if you don't...
It's very clever.
It's very cheap is what it is. OtterBox makes amazing waterproof iPod cases. They do the iPhone 3G iPhone cases. They are not waterproof.
Yeah, the iPhone cases aren't waterproof, but the iPod ones are. I wonder why they do that.
Well, the problem is what they did one at one point, but you basically had to use a Bluetooth connector to it because they made it so waterproof you couldn't actually hear any sound through it.
Yeah, well, that's a good reason for not doing that.
The folks at Pocket Solutions also offer them. They've got two different versions, one for $50, one for $100. And the interesting thing about their $100 case, which makes your iPhone about the size of, what was that long-lost Apple PDA that was about the size of a house?
Newton?
That's the one. It looks like it's about the size of the Newton when you're done with it. $110, but it also allows you to sort of unstrap it and plug it in, so you don't have to disassemble the entire thing to get to it. And there are jacks
really
for a
intense.
headset on that one.
And so this is the watertight one, right?
That's like the super $110 watertight one.
That's intense.
I want to mention one last thing before we go. Golden Shellback, we show them off, right? The guy's pouring a pitcher of water on his notebook. He's throwing his... basically, they do sick waterproof coatings for electronics.
Yeah.
They basically induce a vacuum in a chamber. They induce a gaseous polymer. It covers all of basically a few microns over all of the surfaces. I had an iPod underwater for about 15 hours with no problems. They've put stuff underwater for longer than that.
Golden Shellback?
Yes.
Wow.
So I don't know what their current price is for an iPhone, but I know they do Blackberries for about $120.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
15 hours?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of those things you can put them underwater, like cameras and stuff that are naturally waterproof. They don't work that well.
Yeah, they don't want you to do that. Well, mostly usually it's like 1 meter for 30 minutes is their waterproofiness. This is different because they basically coat the innards. It's pretty amazing technology, and it's pretty slick. It's also kind of pricey on that one. So we're actually running out of show.
We are running out of show, so it's our final time to check in on Danielle's website and see what is going on here. We'll go back to the homepage. Uh-oh. What was it? Tekzilla Live. I lost it. Hold on.
Did you kill it?
I did. I'm sorry. Here it is.
Broke the internets?
What else is new? Well, it looks kind of the same since the last time we checked, but maybe they added way more stuff. I just did refresh, Roger. He's talking in my ear. I don't know if you knew that.
It's the fourth wall, Roger, and we destroy it all the time because that's the way we roll when we're making TV.
Well, this is what we... Oh, look, you even got a little Steve Jobs quotation in there. Design is not just what it looks like. Design is how it works. Do you feel that speaks to you? There you go. See?
Let's click on the cool link and see what happens.
See what a single post looks like? What do you say? You got comments and everything.
Uh-oh.
LOL, that text is from a Dreamweaver template. LOL is right.
Latin of doom.
Great, so we've got all your stuff. Not bad. You'll have to check back in a little while and see what else they decide to do to improve the site. And the best part is that even if you don't have a background in code, you can just make a website like this in a relatively short amount of time.
Even I have not been terrified using the Squarespace
See,
interface.
That's what you should do. You should do it. Use it to fix your website up. I can't believe
when I
you've
need
been so
to
lazy.
finish it, we won't get in there.
He just got a Facebook, by the way.
No, let's not even talk about that. Facebook's scary.
I'm bringing you into the internet, kicking and screaming.
Oh, yes, and you let's not even talk about Veronica and the 32 ways to connect with her at any moment, and you never know which one. Is it the Twitter? Is it the IM? Is
I
it
know,
the AIM?
I'm very
One of the
difficult.
3 email accounts, the cell phone?
I know, but I'm being open. But thank you guys, Squarespace especially, for sponsoring us today. And thank you guys all for being here on our wonderful Tekzilla Live at Web 2.0 today. Give yourselves a round of applause for a little bit to start with. We're very happy to see you here. And we live on your questions, of course, so email us at tekzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it, but we need your viewer questions. So don't be shy, send them in, tekzilla@revision3.com.
Even better, send us a video question. Think of all the fun you can have in the admiration of your friends, neighbors, and complete strangers on the internets when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, and send us the link in an email with video question in the subject line. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with other fans on the show. Where do you do that? Well, you can do that in email or actually in the forums.
Revision3.com/forum.
And if you haven't, check out Revision 3's latest show, Co-op, C-O-O-P.
So psyched about Co-op.
It's all about video games from the guys that brought you the One Up Video Game Show. Each week they gather a group of top video game journalists and developers to talk about, well, basically everything games, especially the latest haps, and they give you the inside scoop. Check it out every Tuesday, revision3.com/co-op.
Those guys are hilarious.
Yes, they are.
Very, very funny. So thank you guys all for watching. You've been a great audience here today. Round of applause once again. Thank you. Sorry to make you do all that clapping, but we're so excited.
Oh, my goodness. We want to thank the Web 2.0 conference, all of our sponsors, and like we said, you. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Until next time, you've been watching Tekzilla. Thanks, everybody.